On your mark. Get ready. It's time to go the distance. For sports news and sports review, get ready. It's The Pitch.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Pitch. As always, I'm your host, John Fox, alongside here with Mitch Sabbatelli and Mike Peps Perrone. Now, diving into this episode, first segment, MLB. Giancarlo Stanton is traded to the New York Yankees for Starlin Castro and 2 minor leaguers. We'll start with you, Mitch, on this one. How does this affect the New York Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like a new wave 2018 murderer's row right now. You have Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, now Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah. The size of the Yankee Stadium is so small. These guys have such tremendous power to opposite field and to left field. It swings going to be perfect for Yankee Stadium. He can use that short porch and right, and he can use his natural power to left and center. This lineup is just tremendously perfect for 2018. You got guys who got great on OBP. You got guys who can hit the ball way out of the ballpark. Didi Gregorius had a really good year last year.
Just your number 3 and cleanup hitter alone. And 54, 59 homers.
Combined home runs for the three of them last season.
A lot of people thought that Greg Bird was going to be what Aaron Judge was last year. He comes up. He got injured early. Yep. He's their lefty. They might pencil him in actually as the 5th hitter. Slide Gary Sanchez down to 6, and then you have a dominant number 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you can throw Didi Gregorius, and they didn't even give up their 2 top prospects that are both going to be in the lineup this year, Gleyber Torres as well as Clint Frazier. I mean, this team has to be a favorite for years to come in the AL East.
Yeah.
I think this is great for the Yankees. I think this is rough for me as I'm wearing the Red Sox hat right now. For my chances at the division this year. But I think it's great for the Yankees. And also a big thing was them also ridding of Headley, because that opens up some room for them to go out and grab a pitcher, which will help them in their rotation a little bit more, along with the other relatively good options they have there right now currently. But I think they need that youth, that pitcher. They might also go out and possibly grab like a Fulmer or something.
Garrett Cole, I hear.
Garrett Cole, I heard is a name too. Since he had a down year, they can get him on the cheap possibly.
But to be honest,
they're really looking to get. I think Fulmer will be huge for them. 2016 Rookie of the Year, and he was very good. So I mean,
to be honest, I just have to make one point. I feel like you could have very average starting pitching with that bullpen already, and now the hitting. Filthy. You could have a guy that pitches an average 4-something ERA, and the guy will still have will still have 16 to 17 wins. So
I mean, with that bullpen, you get guys like Warren and Betances and Aroldis Chapman all coming back, and now you have this hitting. And the thing I like about it is a lot of people say, it would be better if it was a righty-lefty, righty-lefty. I like the fact that it's all righties, because you have a lot of left-handed specialists out there that can really come in, and we know as Red Sox fans how Ortiz looks against really good left-handed pitching. Or you have other guys out there like Josh Hamilton, I knew was a big power hitter, was horrible against lefties. These guys can hit righties and lefties equally. They're really good base runners too, so you could actually move Judge up to the number 2 spot. It's going to take a ton of pressure off Judge, because he was getting, now he's going to get a little bit more fastball looks, and Judge is really good against the fastball. I think this is great for Judge's development, and as long as Stanton can stay healthy, this team's, the sky's the limit. The problem is Giancarlo Stanton has only been healthy for an entire season once, and that was last year. So we'll see how that could happen. Aaron Judge just also had some injury problems.
He's going to get past 145 games this next year.
But like Peps was saying, that $13 million that they lost, that they gained now moving Chase Headley, and like I said, you put Gleyber Torres over there, they can actually re-sign Todd Frazier now. Yeah. And Todd Frazier, he didn't really do too well hitting-wise, but he was really good in that clubhouse.
Really good club.
Yeah. And Didi Gregorius, he's one of my favorite players.
The Todd father.
As well.
Very good.
All right, next question. We'll stay with you, Peps, on this one. Did the Marlins get enough back on this one?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
it's almost as if you look at it as possible. You can't think this way, but possible collusion. It's kind of funny how Derek Jeter goes out and splits pay with another person to go grab the Marlins franchise by the horns and then trade its top asset.
He figures I'm in rebuilding mode. You know what? I'm going to give it to the love of my life, the New York Yankees. I'm going to just trade him away for literally nothing.
You're looking to ship Ozuna. You got rid of Stanton. Why would you do that when you could just build around them? And go grab some pitching or something. Maybe make this a legitimate team.
Giancarlo didn't even want to be traded, right? Like he was willing.
He was sick of losing. He didn't want another losing season. So now Jeter's saying, "Okay, sorry, we are going to have a lose."
They got Castro and apparently the two minor leaguers that they got are good players. But the thing is, it's like
Rafael Devers' cousin.
But the thing is, they
got Rafael Devers' cousin, not even the best Devers.
Yeah. They didn't even get any of their top farm prospects.
Jose Devers.
They didn't get any of their top farm prospects, and they also didn't even get any part of their core that's useful.
It was basically just they pretty much Giancarlo Stanton traded to the Yankees for nothing.
Because Gleyber thing too.
Gleyber Torres is coming right up. They don't need Starlin Castro.
No.
Yeah, and the thing is, too,
Gregorius was he stepped it up.
Yeah,
he really did.
Yeah, how does Derek Jeter not ask for Bird, Torres, or Frazier? The Yankees gave up a ton of prospects in that trade when they got Canley and Todd Frazier and David Robertson. We didn't even mention yet, one of the best setup men's guys in the game. But how does Derek Jeter not ask for any of those guys? A lot of people are saying that the Red Sox never even offered a deal for that, for Stanton. And, Stanton was very picky. He wanted to be on a team that was in the Western Coast and the California that was win now. So he's going to go to the complete Eastern Coast. And I think that has to do, you don't want to bring up collusion. It's more of a fantasy topic, but it's a little fishy.
Apparently they said you either got to pick the Cardinals, you got to pick the Giants, or you will suffer through the 2020 season. If you don't take one of these two, you'll suffer. And then he said, well, I'm going to do whatever I want, and I will just not play for you. And then they were like, all right, Marlins, we can try to get you in the Yankees or whatever. And then he was like, you know what, I'll take the Yankees. They're contending.
The big thing where, like, the Red Sox and other teams, they don't want to pay the $30 million a year.
He pretty much Kevin Duranted it.
Well, so the Marlins turned desperate, and the Yankees turned opportunistic.
What I'm saying is...
That's why it went huge favor.
The Yankees are only paying $265 million of his contract. The Marlins are actually still giving him $30 million for him to go here, and that was because they got Starlin Castro in order to take $30 million from this deal. So this deal is even better. It's an annual salary now instead of 30 of around 25.6 apparently, and I mean that's what JD Martinez is going to get. So if the Red Sox get a little antsy now and they're like, oh, what are we going to do? And let's go out and get JD Martinez. Why wouldn't you just have given up? You could have easily given up Jason Groom, Michael Chavis, and Jackie Bradley for.
I don't think it's worth the money.
Don't worry,
the
Red Sox will counter
at this point. I don't think it is.
Don't worry, the Red Sox will counter with the most average acquisition ever, like a Mitch Moreland or somebody like that.
I think Derek Jeter. I find it hard to believe that this isn't actually a collusion deal, but I think his first big trade shouldn't have been the franchise face going to the Yankees.
Yeah, that was the big issue. I lost a tremendous amount of respect for him.
I have a problem with the guy who spends $550 million on a franchise to be a part owner in, and then not show up to the winter meetings to explain one of the biggest trades of the last decade and a half, if not more. How do you not go to the winter meetings, but you're at the Dolphins-Patriots game last night? The winter meetings are 3 hours away from you.
How would you hate to be a Marlins fan, too? I mean, your prize pitcher dies last offseason, and now you have a guy who hits 60 home runs, and you're shipping him off with this new owner to his own former team. And there's not a guy more symbolic to their team than Derek Jeter to the Yankees. It's just a little fishy.
Sense.
But, it is what it is.
Mitch, what should the Boston Red Sox do? That's the big question right here. What should the Boston Red Sox do? Local show, yeah.
I hinted at
what should they do to counter this?
Dombrowski
if they can
has
even
said,
do anything.
We're looking for a middle of the order bat, and the problem is every one of these guys, Eric Hosmer, he can't hit for power. JD Martinez has had injury history, and he's getting a little bit older in age. But now, are the Red Sox going to panic, or are they going to make a big splash? They're looking for Marcell Ozuna, who might be going to the Cardinals now. Ozuna, like Peps said, I mean, if you have Ozuna and Stanton, you could build around that.
I understand that one.
I think the Red Sox got to play it as if Stanton went to the West Coast team, and whatever they were going to do prior to Stanton talks, I know they were really big on Shohei Ohtani. We're going to talk about it in a little bit. And they really wanted to get him in that second level and a possible chance to get another meeting with him. That didn't work out. So I think Dombrowski he's already got, well, he didn't get burned with Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford, but the Red Sox did. He ddid get burned with Hanram and Pablo Sandoval.
I got burned for buying a Carl Crawford jersey. So.
And now Dombrowski has come out and said he's, some reporters out there saying, oh, they're putting Jackie Bradley on the market, but then he's saying, oh, we're not going to move Jackie Bradley. We are still looking for a middle of the lineup hitter. If he goes out there and just signs Carlos Santana or Eric Hosmer,
I'm telling you, that's
not doing it for me.
Well, I think if it were Sherrington, he'd get Hosmer, and that would be like the biggest move he would make. But the thing is, when it comes down to it, I think they either need to the only way to counter this is to even start to counter this is get Ozuna. I think you have to go get Ozuna. If you don't get Ozuna,
I like Ozuna better than JD Martinez.
If you don't get Ozuna I like Ozuna over Martinez. I think Martinez is a little overrated.
JD Martinez, I would be shocked if he's healthy next year and he's going to hit 32 home runs.
He's looking for $25 million plus. He's not a $25 million plus player, in my opinion.
And he's not good for Fenway Park.
Yeah, I think that Ozuna or bust for them. I think they need to get him, and I honestly believe that. Unfortunately, I think they're gonna get Eric Hosmer, which I like him, but I mean, it's not a big splash for me. I mean, you gotta counter your rival. Yeah. It's not a good. Yeah. It's not a good look.
Bottom line, before we move on, I think the Red Sox should just have whatever their plan was prior to a week ago. They should stick with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well put. Okay. Moving on. Before we go to the NFL, one more signing. One more last bit of signing news. Shohei Ohtani signs with the Los Angeles Angels. Thoughts on this? We'll stay with you, Mitch, for this one.
We talked about last show how Ohtani, he wanted to. I predicted he was going to go to the Mariners. I thought he was going to go to the Mariners. The Angels come from nowhere. Nobody really predicted them, but I love the signing for the Angels. It puts them right up there with the Dodgers as far as because they were losing all that fan intrigue with Trout and Pujols going to the Dodgers.
Weren't the Twins on the board too to get him?
They're always on the board there for a Japanese player, but. The fact Angels never go and get Japanese players, but this is great news for Mike Trout. You can stack him in on the days he doesn't pitch right behind Mike Trout. I love that he went to a DH type team. And also the Angels, I mean, they've had bad luck with pitching, with Garrett Richards getting hurt. He can instantly become their ace and makes Trout and Upton much better.
Very true, very true.
Pretty much, I mean, I think the fact that he went to the Angels was the biggest reason why the Stanton trade happened, because that would have never happened if he went to the Yankees. But so, I mean, I think it's good for the Angels, get some fans back on their side of the seats of L.A.
And the Angels could have been a big player with Stanton, actually.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you wanted to go,
I think it's big for them. I think it's even a bigger reason for why Stanton happened. I think that's the main reason why, actually. So it's big news.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the NFL. We have some devastating news, obviously. Yeah. This is a top story in the NFL right now. Carson Wentz tears his ACL and is gone for the season. Now, thoughts? How does this affect the Eagles, and how does this affect the rest of the NFC top seeding?
Personally, the thing is, I think the Eagles' offense was, in general, in my opinion, I think a little bit overrated. Anyways, I think the problem here is that Wentz was like Brady in the sense of he made everybody look great. He's making everybody look great. And I don't think they're going to get that same effect with Nick Foles. I think
Nick Foles is decent.
Huge key component. If I was going to have a backup, I'd take him definitely any day over somebody like a Tom Savage. Or even like a Blaine Gabbert or anybody like that. The thing is, I think the biggest part of this is, and I'm very, good for the Eagles for doing this, going and getting Jay Ajayi. That run game is now more important than ever. That run game is huge for them. They're going to have to get that run game going if they're going to want any chance to keeping that top seed. I think that having Nick Foles as a backup is not necessarily a bad thing. It's definitely not a championship caliber thing, though. And I think that defense is a little bit vulnerable enough, being shown last week and how many points they gave up to the Rams, that I don't think the Eagles are the top contender anymore. I mean, I think teams like the Vikings now look over them, and I think teams like the Saints are now over them. I don't see how the Eagles are going to play out as any more than a 3 or 4 seed in my mind, personally. I think it's going to be tough trenches for them, and I think they're in trouble in a competitive NFC.
I disagree a little bit. I agree with what you're saying about what it affects the Eagles, but for the seeding, I wasn't sold on the Philadelphia Eagles to begin with, but I think that you kept on hearing people say how they're the most complete NFC team, the closest thing the NFC has to the Patriots. Now we're going to see we're going to actually get a chance to see how good are the Eagles. Was it just Carson Wentz making them so good, or is it the entire team?
Yeah.
And now we're hearing that, like Peps said, Nick Foles comes in very reliable backup. You know, he knows the system. I don't think he's going to try to replace Wentz. He's just going to try to be that game manager.
Do his best, yeah.
And use the running game, Clement and Ajayi, like Fox was saying. But as far as the NFC top seeds, I think the top 3 teams are probably the 3 weakest teams in the playoff hunt right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the Eagles now don't have a quarterback. The Vikings, I'm still not sold on Case Keenum. And the Rams, you know, I mean, they just lost as well. The Rams just, the wide receivers, you don't know about Robert Woods.
I like the Rams.
Gurley's
Robert Woods is
awesome,
coming back this
but
week.
Jared Goff is, he's in his
the
second year,
Rams.
basically his first year. He's basically a redshirt freshman here. That defense, I mean, Sean McVay's look awesome for what he's done with that offense and what he's done with Jared Goff's development. They're a good team. They're going to be in the playoffs. But in my opinion, this opens up the floor for Green Bay. It opens up the floor for Carolina, Matt Ryan and the Falcons, as well as Drew Brees. And
Opens up the Seahawks.
it has ended the Eagles season as far as going to win the Super Bowl. And they were the favorites before that. They're not anymore.
I still
It's
don't
horrible.
think, yeah.
It's like what happened with Derek Carr last
Yeah.
year with the Raiders.
Yeah. All right, now, having said that, for fantasy aspects of this, Mitch, tell us what somebody could do if they had Carson Wentz
Well,
right
I
now.
had Carson Wentz and I had Aaron Rodgers as my backup. I unfortunately lost because of other things. Well, I had Carson Wentz and also Alvin Kamara. And
What can
anyways,
you do to replace Carson Wentz right now if you're in the fantasy
You got to first
playoffs?
look at, see if your league, if somebody was dumb enough to drop Aaron Rodgers earlier in the year. You want to see if he's still out there. You want to go get him. Another guy who's still not owned in a lot of leagues is Jimmy Garoppolo. He is transforming the San Francisco offense right now with Marquise Goodwin. I would go out and try to look for Jimmy Garoppolo.
You know who else I
and
like?
maybe
I
Blake
like,
Bortles.
yeah, I was going to say Blake Bortles. Yeah, I like Blake Bortles. I think that offense is starting to develop
Yes.
more. Huge comeback of D. Westbrook. Finally starting to, he's leading in targets, receptions, and touchdowns the last 2 weeks for the Jags, and I think that Jags offense is well in. Fournette seems healthier now. So
If you're in a keeper league and you have Carson Wentz, I mean, maybe if you're trying to go for the money right now, trade Carson Wentz for a guy like that is still playing. You know, that way you have a better chance, because chances are Carson Wentz has gotten you this far, and you have a chance to win in the money. If you can win in your money, you want that money. I would trade Wentz for, you know, maybe somebody like a Dak Prescott and somebody else for a keeper league.
All right. Nice. Moving on now to the games of the week. Game number 1. We actually have 4 games of the week this week because it's pretty jam-packed. So game number 1, the 9-4 LA Rams go into Seattle Seahawks territory. They're 8-5. Peps, we'll start with you on this one. Thoughts on who's going to take this matchup?
this is a
big
very,
matchup.
very tough, down and dirty interdivisional rivalry here.
Oh.
Then the thing is, the Rams are always such a tough draw for the Seahawks.
They can make Russell
every
Wilson
year,
look
no
bad.
matter
They
who
are,
they
yeah.
have. The Rams are a tough draw, but the Seahawks home here.
Yes.
Yes.
Then I like the Seahawks at home because of not even just the fact that, you know, I mean, the Seahawks lost to the Rams earlier, but Russell Wilson wasn't playing at as high of a level. And Russell Wilson is arguably, if not, I don't know if it's even really an argument right now at this point. He's the top QB right now in general in the league. I mean, he just went against Jacksonville for, he threw picks, but he threw 3 touchdowns as well. I mean, even though they lost that game, he had a hell of a fight, considering the fact that the Jags defense is that tough. I'm going to go with the Seahawks at home. Mainly the reasoning be they're at home, on top of the fact that that defense is still at a high level, even without those two of the 3 Legion of Boom.
Even
and
depleted,
on the fact that Russell Wilson is playing at a high enough level, and they finally got a little bit of a run game going with Mike Davis there, and maybe J.D. McKissick in the passing game in that area, so they can, you know, try to attack him from all sides. And I really think that Seattle will win this game, not by a lot, but they'll win, because I still like the Rams. I think the Rams are a very all-around sound team. Their defense is very tough.
I'm taking the Seahawks on this one just because, first, very simple fact. Seattle really doesn't lose 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson
under
home
Pete
field.
Carroll, they do not lose 2 games in a row, and this is a very big game. I think they're going to come out.
I'm highlighting 2 players in this game. One, Bobby Wagner, who's the unsung hero for Seattle right now. You know, with all their injuries with Sherman and to that Legion of Boom, Bobby Wagner has elevated his game once again this year. Bobby Wagner versus Todd Gurley, that's going to be a huge matchup. But I think this matchup's huge for Jared Goff. Everyone's saying, could Jared Goff be that second year? Is he as good as Carson Wentz? When he's going against this established defense that Seattle has, and, you know, Pete Carroll's defense, and dangerous Russell Wilson in December, there's nobody better, like Pep said, in December, and that includes Tom Brady. When you're talking about Russell Wilson, he's so good, especially at home. Seattle's not going to lose again. I know Rams have given them trouble in the past, but now people are actually giving the Rams as possible Super Bowl favorites now with the Wentz injury.
They might be, I believe they are the most all-around sound team in the NFC right now.
Seattle's representing the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm saying I believe they are right now the all-around most sound team in the NFL because their offensive line is definitely better than Seattle's.
I'm going with Seattle just because of Russell Wilson.
I'm going with Seattle too, but I mean, I'm not sold on them being a favorite, full-on favorite.
All right, nice. Next matchup. 7-6 Green Bay Packers are going into Carolina Panthers territory. They are 9-4 currently. Yep. Mitch, who will take this one?
Carolina, big win last week. Jay Stu with 3 touchdowns. He's really done a great job, really complimenting Christian McCaffrey as like that bell cow, and McCaffrey's more of the guy who catches the ball out of the backfield. If there's anyone who can bring a team into the playoff race, it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't think I've ever seen a guy more ready to go than Aaron Rodgers against his team.
I don't know, Mitch. I looked at a stat today, actually. Yeah. In overtime career, Aaron Rodgers is 1-7. Now Brett Hundley is 2-0.
Yeah.
So.
I also know that Green Bay last year was, 5-6, and he said he was going to run the table, and he did.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Rodgers, I think the Carson Wentz injury is only pumping up Aaron Rodgers even more because that top of that NFC, like we mentioned earlier, is not as good as people think they are. Yeah. Green Bay with Devontae Adams, and now Jordy Nelson becomes relevant. In fantasy purposes, a lot of people might have dropped Jordy Nelson. Pick him up immediately.
And Devontae Adams only becomes fantasy relevant when he, of course, faces me in a matchup.
Well, anyways, Carolina Panthers, they're no joke. I mean, Funchess as well as Cam Newton having really good years, but I'm going to go with Green Bay here.
Yeah, they're no joke, but I still think they're a huge pretender, even at 9-4. I think they could arguably be 7-6. I think the Panthers are a mediocre team. I think their defense is good, but I don't think it's going to be enough to carry them. And I think Aaron Rodgers coming back with those offensive weapons and now the emergence of an actual run game in Green Bay since 2015 with Eddie Lacy. Oh. Yeah. Now they have Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams is good, man.
Now they have Jamal Williams. They have Aaron Jones, who's also, he's very, very good too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Two stud
and
rookie
Montgomery
running
might
backs.
be coming. Now that Aaron Rodgers come back, can Montgomery come back? Maybe.
He'll be back for a couple snaps.
I think the Packers are going to win this one too. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to expose the Panthers' defense big time, and I don't think their defense is as good as everybody's giving them credit for. I think the Packers and Aaron Rodgers can pick apart that secondary easily.
Yeah.
I think the Panthers are going to lose by a good touchdown here.
I think I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a huge fantasy.
He's going to go off. I think the Panthers are just overrated. I don't think they're that good, especially losing Benjamin.
All right, nice. Moving on to the next matchup. Both teams 7-6 right now, so it's a very big game.
Yeah.
LA Chargers versus Kansas City Chiefs. Peps, we'll go with you on this one. Who do you think will take this one?
I'm all about the bolo tie in this one. I love Phillip Rivers. He's one of my favorite players. I love the energy. I love the passion, the enthusiasm. His team never really ever gets to that level, but he's always involved. He's always there. He's getting in the D-line's face. I love a player like that. I respect the hell out of a player like that. And I think that they're going to go in and they're going to stomp on the Kansas City Chiefs. Pathetic secondary, pathetic defense. I think that they're going to rip them to shreds. They've been ripping to shreds everybody they've been playing, and I don't see how that changes even at Kansas City and Arrowhead.
I think that's the big factor.
I think that's a factor, but if anybody is going to do it in a rivalry game in the division when he's on a huge 7-2 run right now, and he's very good late in the season, I think Rivers can pull it off with Melvin Gordon. And now the reemergence of Keenan Allen as a machine, and Hunter Henry is now back in play too. And I think even with the Chiefs, I think this is going to turn into a shootout. I think it's going to be a shootout, but I think the Chargers are going to win it in the end. And I think they're going to need a field goal to do it from Travis Coons.
Yeah.
I think that the Chargers are going to win.
I agree. It's definitely going to be a shootout. I know, Chargers and Chiefs have some special pass rushers there. Houston, as well as Ingram and Bosa.
I'm going to take the Chargers simply because they have something to prove. Phil Rivers has something to prove.
This is the best defense I've seen the Chargers have in the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
But the reason why the Chargers are always so good in the second half is because when teams come to their place, it's really hot, and usually it's colder climate teams coming to the really hot, then San Diego, now LA. But Phillip Rivers is really good in December, like Peps was mentioning. Although that Chiefs win last week was huge for their confidence, huge for Alex Smith, who really hasn't been playing that horribly, even with all those losses in a row. Tyreek Hill's going to explode in this one. I don't see the Chargers being able to stop him here. And I think Hunt might actually be back to fantasy relevance. I like for the Chiefs.
Sounds good to
like
me.
they thought they were going to be in the beginning of the year. I think they're going to wrap up this division here, and it's going to be a big win for them. But I do think the Chargers are still going to get.
It's going to be like a 33-30 game.
Yeah, it's going to be
it's going to be
a
nuts.
coin flip.
It's going to be a great game.
The fact that if it was in a neutral site, I'm going with Phillip Rivers too. But the fact that it's Arrowhead, I'm going Kansas City.
Saturday Night Football.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the final matchup, game of the week.
Yeah.
New England Patriots 10-3 at Pittsburgh. They're 11-2 right now. Pittsburgh Steelers. This is huge right now.
It's a big game.
Very big game with the Patriots dropping the Dolphin game. Who wants to take this one first?
I'll take this one.
I'll throw it up in the air.
I'll take this one.
I
I just want to say real quick, every time that Brady does lose a game in his future, I don't want people to say, oh, well, he's old. Because then the next week when he dominates and people say, oh, look, he is back. Brady does horrible in Miami. He's 7-9 now. Had trap game all over it. You could see how Rob Gronkowski not being there and not getting double team really affects the outside receivers. Xavier Howard was just shutting out Cooks.
Yeah.
He didn't get a catch until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And the wide receivers in general didn't get a catch to the second half. They didn't even get a first down, and that's why you need Edelman, why you need Gronk. Gronk is back this game. Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin's been looking forward for this one for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and Belichick has also subconsciously been looking forward to this one for a little while.
Gotta come down to the wire.
Tomlin never changes his game plan against the Patriots, and it never works. The only teams that can beat Tom Brady are really good pass rushing teams. When the Steelers aren't, because they lost Shazier. They're going to shut out Brown. They're going to shut out Bell. I'm going to go with the Patriots win big here. I'm going to say they win by 18.
I don't think it's going to be that far away especially in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's defense, you also have to throw in there, has gotten much better from last season. Even though
they lost Shazier.
I know they lost Shazier, but the thing is, I still think that defense is much better than it was last year. I think that Bell's coming into his own, but I'm still going to pick the Patriots here because, I will say, like you said, I think that Miami game was trap game written all over it. Because this game really didn't mean anything because this game was the top seed decider regardless.
Gets the one.
So I think the Patriots were preparing more for Pittsburgh and overlooking Miami. That's what happened here, but the loss of Gronkowski killed them also. And the thing is about Brandon Cooks, as much as I like Brandon Cooks, he's the kind of guy that takes the top off the defense. He's a deep vertical threat. He becomes a very average receiver when you take all of the other weapons out of play. He becomes very average.
A receiver didn't even have a reception until the end of the third quarter.
Hogan was coming back from injury, and then you have Cooks by himself. I just think that I think that all the weapons come back. Brady comes back into form because he was getting hit. He was seeing stars a little bit at some point in time during that game. He was getting hit hard. So the thing is, I think that they'll have that time to rest up. I think they'll be ready, and I think they're going to go into Pittsburgh and have a convincing, nice 10-point win.
It was very reminiscent of the Denver Broncos 2 years ago. Once Brady gets it in his head that the pass rush is coming, Wake and Sue are all over him. He's going to go off, and Gronk, him being out really shows you how much that double team really affects the rest of the game.
I hope Brady's. I hope he's ready because he seemed aching. He seemed a little hurt last night.
That's by 18.
The ball, so.
All right, that's a noble. Okay, all right. Well, that pretty much sums it up for this episode of The Pitch. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Vimeo, YouTube.
Venmo.
And until next time, Venmo, yeah. Merry Christmas, guys, from us here at The Pitch.
Happy
Have a good one.
holidays.